Good morning, everyone. So today I know that you might have wanted to meet on Teams since the two girls are in an exciting trip in Spain. However, and this is a big however, I don't want the distractions because we really need to be focusing on what's important for your exam. So I am going to do this on YouTube today. That does not mean that I don't appreciate the good interactions that we have on Teams, but on Monday we had a class on Teams. Yesterday we had a class together in a classroom. So today I'm doing YouTube. So that's three different things. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is to write in the chat box the difference between reports and reviews. I can't chat. I can't write anything in the chat box, Pollyanna. Listen, that's why I always tell you use the laptop or a desktop for this type of activity because I need you to type in chat. Otherwise, I don't know that you're here. So the first thing you're going to write the difference between a report and a review. Go. In the meantime, in the meantime, I'm going to open my book as you write. A report is different from a review. And you know the difference, but it's important that you show me. And every time I ask you a question like that, every time I assign work, you have to give me the best answer possible using academic vocabulary. And I understand that maybe some of you are not thinking about becoming academics in the future, and that goes for Spanish as well. I understand not everyone's going to make this a career in languages, but you still, for VG3, for your exam, you will need to write in that manner. You will read academic texts and write academically. I should be looking at your responses in chat right now. And I'm sure you got your answers correctly. I know that out of all of you, someone must have gotten the answers correctly. So let's move into the text that we read. We also watched a video. I understand that not everybody's going to like watching the videos I select. I do show documentaries, sitcoms, interviews that I personally conduct. I don't know if you've had a cameo before in this class, but sometimes cameos that I hire people to do. So that's part of my modus operandi, my MO as a teacher for giving you authentic experiences in listening. I know not everyone's going to like what I select, but I always have a reason for selecting it. So yesterday, two of you watched the video that I paired with the text that we read. I want you to type in chat how the text, the prophet, relates to the video I showed you. I showed you a sitcom. The name of the sitcom is Everybody Loves Raymond. It is a sitcom that started in the late 90s and went all the way into the 2000s. It was a very popular sitcom. I understand that some of you don't like the laugh track. Um, I think the laugh track for somebody who is not a native speaker of English, if you get the joke, the laugh track is not so bad, even if you don't think the joke is funny. But when you're not a native speaker and you don't think the joke is funny and you don't get it either, the laugh track can be like, well, I understand that. Curiously enough, the laugh track on The Big Bang Theory never seemed to bother you all. And I think the reason for that is that it is more current, right? The Big Bang Theory is a sitcom that some of you have binge watched before, and Everybody Loves Raymond is not a sitcom that you have watched. But it's all good. I'm going to keep selecting different things for you to do. So, how does The Prophet relate to the sitcom I showed you? How are the two concepts in any way related? I've given you some time, so I'm thinking people have already written something in the chat. Hopefully, this is recorded with a delay, so by the time you type, I will already be watching it and looking at the chat and giving you feedback in the chat. But let me tell you how I related the two and why I picked that particular one. So I've been teaching this book, Interactions, since 2020, and I have tried different types of videos with the Prophet. One of them was a documentary about Jonestown, the cult. Please type in chat if you know what I'm talking about. Yes or no? I want to see answers from everybody. There are 5 of you. I want to see a yes and a no and a no and a yes and a no or a yes. I want to see responses. I have showed the documentary about Heaven's Gate, which is another cult. Have you heard of Heaven's Gate? I want to see a yes or a no, 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 a yes or a no. There are 5 of you. Perhaps 4. Perhaps the 2 ladies who are in Spain are going to use one response. I don't know how that's going to go, but it would be nice if you gave me separate responses. So Jonestown. Oh boy, I think you might have heard of it. Jim Jones was a prophet. Prophet. He claimed that he had the power to give everybody a connection with God and a better life. He conned hundreds of people to fly with him to Guyana. Guyana, let me show you. Guyana. So here's a map of South America. The biggest country here is Brazil, where I was born, but have spent probably less time than I have everywhere else. And up here, you have several other little countries. Guyana is up here. I don't know if you can see the cursor. So I'm gonna do this and show you. I apologize for the shopping. I'm not shopping right now, but unfortunately the ads that are shown to me are all the things I've looked at. I looked into buying. People do not want to see that, but oh well. Okay, so let me show you. Guyana. Guyana is up here. See how tiny the country is? So Jim Jones took hundreds of people with him to Guyana. In Guyana, listen to this, as the prophet that he claimed he was. Pay attention to what I'm saying because I'm going to ask you questions about this later on. All right, so he took hundreds of people to Guyana. He built a city in the middle of the jungle without access to anything. He had everybody in the city working, farming, having midnight meetings to talk about God, where he would give them sermons. He had a whole thing going on where the families could live there. And at the beginning, they were happy, but then they realized they couldn't leave. They had given their money, they had left their loved ones behind. Some of them took their families with them, some of them left the families behind. But they were isolated in Guyana. And this prophet had the power to make them do what he wanted. If you want to look into this, I will give you a link to documentaries about it. I myself am not going to show you the documentary because I have already planned to show you a different documentary for something else. So I have shown that documentary before to talk about this text, the prophet documentary about Jonestown. I'm going to go back to Jonestown in a bit, but I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying because I'm going to ask you questions about it. Another cult with a prophet was Heaven's Gate. Heaven's Gate was by the way, Jonestown happened in 1978, 77, 78, so that was a long time ago. The next one I'm going to talk about, Heaven's Gate, was a cult that originated also in the 70s, but it came to a halt in 1997. Applegate was the man, the prophet in that cult. He convinced dozens of people that they would be taken by a comet. Let me write the word for you. A comet. They would be taken by that comet into space to live in a superior plan with aliens. Both the members of the cult, Heaven's Gate and Jonestown, ended up committing suicide, a mass suicide. All of them killed themselves together, led by a prophet. Now, I want you to tell me how those two cults I just told you about differ from the cult Robert in Everybody Loves. Everybody Loves Raymond was involved. Go. Type in chat. How the how does Jonestown, all the people stranded in Guyana, And Heaven's Gate, everybody that was in in a house living with Applegate, their leader, killing themselves to never be led to the superior plan you're supposed to go to, but just to death. How do they differ from what happened in Everybody Loves Raymond? So here is Jim Jones, and this is very sad. All the people that died because of him. So to be similar or to differ are opposite concepts. And you know that. So you're going to tell me. Now, this is Applegate, who led the Colts also to death. How is the different? How do these two differ from Everybody Loves Raymond? I want everyone to give me their opinion in chat. You have to type in chat. Otherwise, I can't mark you present. I cannot stress this enough. Otherwise, we won't be able to have classes from home anymore because administration and the other teachers are going to see this as just a means for me to stay home. And they're not going to see it as a legitimate way for us to have a class. So you have to participate. So I hope you have written your responses. What I was looking for was exactly what you put in. And I'm saying that because I have faith in this group. I know that you know the answers. So the cult in Everybody Loves Raymond differs from Jonestown and Heaven's Gate in the sense that the latter two led people to their own demise, whereas Inner Path led them to act silly, smile a lot, and chant together, as well as clap and rejoice. I am hoping that somebody wrote a similar response to that. I'm hoping. I mean, a girl can hope, right? But I feel like you may have written that just in your own words. Now let's go through what we need to talk about. The first thing I asked you was to write the differences between reports and reviews. A report is when you just watch a movie, read a book, watch a sitcom, or observe a situation and you write exactly what you observed. A review is when you watch a movie, read a book, or observe a situation, participate in a seminar, watch an interview, and then you just write about what you watched. And then you talk about how you perceived what you watched, what you read, what you experienced. So a review has a personal touch, and a report is very neutral. Reports are neutral, while reviews are biased. Please type in chat what you understand by the concept of being biased. Go. You need to be typing chat so that, if people don't answer anything, I can't mark you present. So type something, even if it is, I'm sorry, I don't have a clear recollection of what that entails. Or you can say, I apologize, but I don't remember exactly what that is all about. Or I apologize for the inconvenience of not providing you with a proper answer because I really don't remember. If if you don't know, show me you don't know, but use your eloquent academic speech. Yes, I know not all of you are going to go on to be academics, but both in Spanish, German, and English, whatever you write has to be elevated. Okay? To be biased, to have a preconceived idea on a subject matter, to be bigoted, to be influenced by a previous opinion. So, why do they bring the external examiner? In Norwegian, censor. Why do they bring the external examiner for your exam? They bring the external examiner because I would be biased, right? To just give you a grade based on everything I know about you and based on everything that you write and say and read and experience in class. So they want my grade, and they also want a separate grade from somebody else to see if the two match up. They usually don't, okay? I'm going to tell you, I've seen kids who were 6 drop down to a 3. I've seen kids who were a 3 drop down to a 2. In all my experience in 35 years of teaching, 23 of those years here in Norway, 23 years, no one has ever flunked one of the exams they took after being my student. Let's keep that streak going. So you all are going to do amazingly well. Okay, so to be biased. Next on the agenda. Yesterday we talked about what a pleonasm is. It is a literary device that we have not discussed too much, but yesterday I definitely told you what it was. So I don't expect the two ladies in Spain to remember, but I expect one of the three boys who were in class yesterday, one of you should remember. What is a pleonasm? I'm going to show you what they are. I'm going to show you the definition that they have there, but yesterday I told you what it was. If you don't have a recollection, if you don't know what they are, write eloquently in chat. Pleonasm has something to do with redundancy. Pleonasm is when you use more words than necessary to express your point. Pleonasms are sometimes considered a stylistic error because they add superfluous and often redundant words. However, pleonasms can be used as a literary device to bring attention to a specific idea or rhythm. Let's look at 5 examples of pleonasm. I'm going to show you how easy it is for you to research online and create your bank of experiences. So I'm going to show you here. Yesterday, I was creating the magic of your midterms in Spanish. Pleonasms. I saw it with my own eyes. Who else's? Not who else's eyes, but whose. Anyway, would you have seen it for, I mean, you couldn't have done it any other way. So I've seen it with my own eyes. That's a pleonasm. So in this case, it's style. You're using pleonasm to emphasize a point, even though you know that you don't need to say that. So by now, for an added bonus, a bonus is by definition additional. So you shouldn't say added bonus. So you're using too many words to say. So that's a pleonasm. Yesterday, another concept that came up was alliteration. What is alliteration? Type in chat. I need to see if I still have time to say everything I have to say. Oh, I don't have that much time, so type in chat. What I don't like about Clipchamp is that it only gives me 30 minutes. Webcam Max is a very old program that I've been using for 16 years now. It's in my old computer, and I'm using the school laptop to do this. So, alliteration. I know that some of you, or all of you, perhaps got it, but here it is. It is the repetition of sounds in a verse. A verse and a line are the same thing, okay, in a poem. In a poem. So if I say, surrounded by silence, that's the repetition of sounds there just to create the magical effect, right? So I may be cut off in the middle of what I'm going to say, but enjoy your trip, girls and boys. Your activity after this is finished. I mean, everyone's going to do an activity, the girls too, but enjoy your trip and do the activity. Will be on Teams Uppgaver. There is no excuse for you to not do it, and you have to hand it in by 12. I'm just waiting to be cut off. I don't know what this is doing. It's very silly. I did not ask for it. Okay. So have a great rest of your day. I will put screenshots of the pages from the book that you need. Bye. Have a fantastic day.